In the following show do not necessarily reflect that of this station or its ownership.
Wally and Al's Conservative Talk. I'm your host, Pat Gibbons, with my co-host, Al. Hey, Al, what do you hear? What do you say?
Fire Brandon Johnson.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I like that, Al. We have a lot of guests here today. I'm not talking about one guest. I'm not talking about two guests. I'm not even talking about three guests. I kid you not. We have today 4 guests. And including me and Al, that's 6 people on the show today. We're going to have everybody's opinions today heard. It's going to happen. But before we go to our guests, and they're all great guests today, Miss Rocio Cleveland has an event on August the 5th, 2023, from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Lincoln Room at the Wakanda Area Public Library. Children will be reading a book about how to be brave. This is a fun-filled event for children of all ages. An arts and crafts activity, as well as light refreshments, will be provided. Several surprises will be announced throughout this whole dynamic event from start to finish. You don't want to miss this. It's a very good conservative event. I really suggest people go to it. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. All right. Let's go to our guests. First and foremost, we have Mr. Green. Mr. Green, thank you for being on the show. Yes, Mr. Green, of course, everybody knows from the last interview, is WCGO's chief engineer.
Hey, thank you very much. It's great to be back on the show, Pat.
Oh, wow. It's great for you to be on the show. And you have your own radio show, is that correct?
Yeah, we kind of fill in on the days that you don't. So we do Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we kind of just hit the top news topics and things like that. Mostly ridiculous news. We don't try to hit too many of the political side of it.
Right.
We try to be apolitical as possible. Because at the end of the day, we're all Americans. We all need the information.
Amen. And Mr. Dennis Green, you had me on the show, too.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that was a fantastic show. If anybody wants to listen to it, we actually went through Bob Dylan's Times They Are A-Changin' from 2 different political viewpoints, I guess.
Very cool.
It was a fun time.
Good. Our next guest, Mark
Weyermuller.
Mark Weyermuller.
Tough name to pronounce.
Yeah.
They call me Mark Man on the Street when I'm on the radio because I'm known to go to a lot of events.
All right.
I'm a Christian conservative. I'm a pro-Trump person. I'm a Chicago person. I'm not leaving Chicago. I want to get Chicago better. And I also, one of my main things is I want less taxes. And I'm a Cubs fan.
Amen. I like you already, Mark. Alrighty. Our next guest, Mark Santana. How you doing, Mark? What do you hear? What do you say? Mark Santana.
I'm Mark Santana. I am a podcast host of the Prominent Conservative Show. I am a lifelong Chicago, born in Chicago, and I am up here in Ohio now.
And thank you for being on the show, Mark. Awesome. And
Thank you.
No problem. And our last guest, a Christian conservative, an attorney that has a lot of Christian businesses, I believe he represents. He is on the Moody Bible station many, many times, and he's a big Trump supporter. Mr. Jeremy Ramsey. Jeremy, thank you for being on this show today, sir.
Thanks for having me. I'm an attorney licensed in Illinois and Wisconsin. Been practicing a little over 20 years here. I'm affiliated with several Christian conservative legal organizations like the Alliance Defending Freedom, Liberty Counsel, Pacific Justice Institute. Have my practice in Loves Park, Illinois. Mostly focus on, believe it or not, estate planning, estate administration, real estate law, which I started doing of all places when I was a judge advocate in the United States Army. I'm on several radio programs, usually as the legal expert, someone to describe and explain Supreme Court decisions, stuff that I think is going on or things that we should be concerned about. I'm a public speaker. I speak at a lot of churches, a lot of ministries about constitutional rights, mostly for Christians, and then I'm a consistent referral attorney for several concealed carry organizations and speak about Second Amendment rights as well.
Oh, wow. That's a long list. And you've been on the Moody Bible Station a few times, correct?
Yeah, they call me usually once or twice a year. I'm on, they're usually in the Quad Cities area. They want to know what are my thoughts on recent Supreme Court decisions? What are cases that are coming up that we should be aware of?
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to say that mostly the Supreme Court is going in the right direction now.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully our current I will call him imbecile president doesn't get a chance to load the court with more bad justices.
And he's quite the imbecile. Or he's suffering from dementia. Who knows? But here's...
Either one.
Okay. Now we're going to go to a topic. I'm going to be on the back seat of this one, and you guys are just going to talk. Al, you're going to take over from here, okay, my friend? The topic is RFK Jr. RFK Jr. is not receiving any Secret Service protection. Joe Biden put the nix on it. Ever since his father, RFK, Bobby Kennedy, was assassinated in 1968, June 6, 1968 was the official day he died, it was implemented that presidential candidates should get Secret Service protection. Joe Biden did not want RFK Jr. to have Secret Service protection. A lot of people think that's not right. All right, Al, you take over. You call on who you want to call on this one.
Well, I don't know if it's Joe Biden saying it or his handlers, but they see RFK as a problem for them because everybody knows that Joe Biden is not capable of even eating his ice cream. So I'll go to Mark, see what he thinks.
Mark Weyermuller.
Well, I wasn't that familiar with RFK, and he was here about a month ago, and he did some stops here. I got invited to a dinner, and it was only 18 people. I was a guest, and it was with basically the people with the Children's Health Defense Fund, which he's the head of. A lot of people call him an anti-vaxxer, but he's really not an anti-vaxxer. He wants choice for people taking the vaccines. He also wants more long-term studies, not forcing people. And he's very articulate. I don't agree with him. He wants a Green New Deal. He wants big on teachers unions and stuff like that, but he's very well spoken, and he's a much better Democrat than Joe Biden.
Yeah, my body, my choice, but they want to force you to get the vaccine and put the muzzle on your face.
Right. Dennis, do you think that's fair that RFK Jr. is not receiving any Secret Service protection?
Absolutely, I think that it's fair. Because if you look even on the Secret Service's website, they say they do not provide Secret Service for anybody before 120 days before the actual election. Then, as far as what Obama had put into place, he had said that's what the Secret Service says, but I'm going to put in a new stipulation for it. If you are a major candidate, then you should get it. And qualifications of a major candidate are 15% of the populace vote, however you want to measure it. You can pull different publicly accessible polls to find that out, but you have to be at least 15% consecutively. And since June, RFK has actually gone down. I think he's sitting at about 13 something right now. So he doesn't meet the requirements for Secret Service right now, according to the guidelines of Secret Service. Just saying, hey, somebody's being mean to me, right, I need Secret Service, doesn't make you qualified to receive it.
Interesting point. Jeremy, do you concur to that?
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. But I think one of the underlying issues, well, a couple things. One, if the Democrats are prohibiting something of taxpayer money being spent on a candidate, gosh, that may be a first. Second is if the concern I have here is those who want Joe Biden in office are doing everything they can, pulling out all stops to keep him as their candidate. He's not a genius by any stretch of the imagination. He's a puppet. And those like the Klaus Schwabs, George Soros, Bill Gates of the world, World Economic Forum, they want Biden back in office because he's allowing everybody to destroy the dollar, to destroy America, get their one world government in, and he's their perfect candidate to be the puppet that they need him to be.
Interesting point. Mark Santana?
I honestly am not surprised that RFK did not get Secret Service protection, because President Biden does not help his opponents out, because he tried to destroy President Trump when those two were running against each other in the 2020 election. So I am not surprised President Biden is not helping out RFK, even though he should be helping out RFK with Secret Service.
So is that, just as a question to go back to it, are you saying that because you think that President Biden should extend his hand out to every single candidate, or because right now RFK doesn't meet the guidelines to receive Secret Service? So should he go out of his way to do? So if I turned around and said, me, Dennis Green, I'm running for president right now, I should get Secret Service? I don't qualify for it. RFK doesn't.
I know RFK doesn't, but I'm talking about the personality of President Biden, where he's all about himself.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not going to argue against that. President Biden and the entire administration doesn't want another candidate. He's the incumbent. He's going. But the argument right now is, does RFK deserve to have Secret Service?
I think he should, but I don't think he will.
Because he doesn't qualify.
Correct.
We seem to be mostly in all agreement on that one.
Who gets Secret Service protection? Why doesn't some journalist step up and say who actually get it? For instance, we haven't even mentioned Hunter Biden, who's probably getting. He probably needs a huge amount of security with all the shenanigans he's involved with.
Of course.
But I'd like to see the list of who gets it, when, and what we're talking about.
Yeah, what's the qualifications?
And I really have no opinion on it. He does. When I saw him, he did have personal security with him. And that's, most of these guys do have security.
Now, Mark, you said that you've seen Governor DeSantis not too long ago?
Yeah, no, he did not have security. He had state troopers with him. So, I don't know how it works.
Yeah, because he's probably a governor. That's why he's got his own security.
So, I'd like to have security walking around Chicago. I'm more worried about
no kidding.
Maybe we should all say we're presidential candidates, right?
That's a good point. I was going to talk about the ongoing crime of Chicago, which all of us can relate to. 47 shot, 5 killed. Seems like this mayor doesn't have no safety plan whatsoever. What can we do to deter the crime? That seems to be a universal question. Do you think that the National Guard should come in and take over? Because at this point, as we know, Governor Pritzker signed into law that people that come into this country illegally can, if they have a green card, right, a visa, they can...
That doesn't sound illegal to me.
Here comes the debate. They can become law enforcement officers if they go through the right channels. Does that seem really fair?
That doesn't sound illegal to me.
Okay.
Somebody who's here with permission and someone who wants to work and protect their community. Is there a law against that? They're not here illegally.
Okay.
You just said they've got a green card, permission to work, a visa, permission to work. Why should you bar them from being part of their community? And really, when you say that we are not having enough police staffing, there's not enough people that want to be police officers, why are you cutting out a whole nother group of people to not be thrown into the ring?
Not cutting out anybody. Here comes the debate. If anybody wants to come in on this debate, please do. I'm not going to announce your names, all right, everybody?
I'm happy to jump in on this one.
Okay, listen. I'm going to just make this point. Laws protect people that come into this country illegally. San Francisco is a sanctuary city. Chicago is a sanctuary city. Hell, Illinois is a sanctuary state. So that doesn't really sound legal when you have Democratic politicians making it so. To me, it's still illegal. And that's my mindset saying that. Anybody want to jump in on that?
Well, I'll
I'd be
weigh
happy to
in
jump
real quick. There's 723 homicides last year in Chicago, 847 the year before. I went to Officer Preston, Officer Lasso's, Officer Paul Bauer's funeral. So this is a terrible thing that we need to protect the police. I really don't have a big comment on whether we should be hiring non-citizens for any jobs. We should obviously be doing something about immigration, supporting legal immigration. My big thing in Chicago is this retail theft. We have to stop the retail theft. There was a big thing at Old Orchard yesterday. People are talking about they just came in with guns and robbed a store. This needs to stop. And I wish Governor Pritzker would put a little effort into that rather than everything else he's doing, which is not helping me or anybody else.
Right.
Pritzker's just warming up for his presidential run, I think, or he thinks he's gonna run.
Jeremy, was that you or Mark that wanted to jump in on that?
It was me. It was Jeremy.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
So, couple things. Yeah, and I heard your show yesterday. So yeah, I do want to point out that, you know, as an attorney, laws are very important. You got to be specific with verbiage here. Saying that illegal immigrants can be law enforcement officers, that's a stretch. So I wouldn't continue on that narrative if I'm going to provide you with legal counsel, although you haven't hired me. So these are immigrants that are allowed to be in the United States under work visas. They're following the laws of that. My problem is, how can you have someone who has not agreed to be a citizen of the United States being given the ability to arrest those who are citizens of the United States? That flies right in the face of the Constitution. That flies into ideas that our founding fathers had, that our country was to be governed by the people, as in the citizens of the United States, and then our laws, our government, our laws are to protect the rights of the people. To have someone who's not willing, for whatever reason, to become a citizen of the United States, sure, they can come here, work all kinds of other jobs, but to be a law enforcement officer, that is complete insanity.
Jeremy, does the law change based off of who arrests you?
No.
If it's a man, if it's a woman, if it's a minority, if it's a white person, does the law itself change, or does the criminal get away with it if somebody else arrests them?
It's well, if you're asking political or law, as the saying is, justice is blind. The laws should be applied equally to everyone, whether you're all the way down to, you know, the regular citizen of the United States, or you're all the way up to the president of the United States. The laws should apply to everyone.
Absolutely.
So I don't see. So justice is blind, and I'm glad for it. I wish it was the truth. It's not.
So justice is blind, but the person arresting someone, the law enforcement officer, they need to be a specific person to actually enforce that law.
They should be a citizen of the United States. If you're going to uphold the laws of the nation that you're an employee of, then you should agree to be a citizen of that nation.
Are there times where somebody with a visa cannot become a citizen, or is visa and green cards and everything a work towards citizenship?
It is a work towards citizenship. I mean, I'm a fan of trying to make our immigration laws better, less red tape, less restrictions. I don't like the fact that a person who adds gain to a political office is going to get fast tracked to citizenship, whereas someone who's working hard and just trying to do the honest thing and the legal thing and get their way to a citizenship of this country is, thrown to the wayside because they're just a regular, blue collar kind of person. But this is a stretch, allowing non-citizens to have the right of law enforcement is an incredibly troubling stretch.
One last question before I take it over is, and I apologize for bogarting the conversation with you, Jeremy, but the other question that I have is, do we stop at law enforcement? What about other social services? Should immigrants or people with those work visas be allowed to work at welfare offices, or be in any other social service that's out there. Firemen. Is it okay to be a fireman in a work visa? Does it only have to be essentially arresting people and using the laws, or can somebody be a social worker and still enforcing laws or interpreting laws as a visa? I just want your opinion, and that's really essentially what we're asking.
Sure. I'm going to go to the Fourth Amendment, and I'm going to talk about the fact that when a law enforcement officer has the right under probable cause to detain someone and essentially take away their justice, their liberties, their freedom, that's my concern. You're going to have someone who's not even a citizen of the United States being allowed to detain and take away Fourth Amendment rights from someone under that specific type of job. That is incredibly troubling to me.
Can I add one thing?
Any of the other positions you mentioned, firefighter, social worker, can they detain you? Can they put you in a holding cell? Can they put you in a jail cell?
Fish and Wildlife can, if somebody works for
and that's a form of law enforcement.
Well,
Go ahead, Mark.
The bigger question is, why are we not getting people from Chicago going to become Chicago policemen?
Right.
And I go back to that they're not supporting the police. We have these stand-down orders June 30th of 2020. They broke 3,000 windows on Michigan Avenue. I think there were no arrests. The police had stand-down orders. We should be discussing this. I'm not sure what Pritzker is doing. Who knows? But why can't we support the police? I would like to see when people are arrested, I'd like to see the mugshots published. I'd like to see the court proceedings. I want to see perp walks. I mean, I'm old school. I want to see stop and frisk. I don't want any criminals on the CTA. Maybe I should be police superintendent, but I would probably, the civil liberties, everybody be after me. But we need to stop criminals. We need to focus on that. One more thing is this idea of these but they call them migrants. A lot of them are illegal aliens. They're staying at police stations right now.
Right.
Why is this happening? This is some kind of stunt. I just drove by the police station yesterday up on Lincoln Avenue, and there's like 100 people living there. There's one bathroom. There's no showers. How are we allowing stuff like this to happen? Where is Governor Pritzker on these issues?
Yeah.
Mark Santana, can you answer that one?
I'm in agreement with Mark Weyermuller about we need to be supporting the police, but also too, we also need to make sure that we as citizens report crimes to the police and hold our elected officials accountable.
There you go. Jeremy, isn't it possible that someone here on a work visa, they can have some sort of crime in Mexico and that probably wouldn't be detected, or any other country? Is that remotely possible? They can have something in their background. Yes.
Sure, it's possible. I mean, it's I can tell you as a former prosecutor, it was difficult certain days to know if a defendant that was in front of me in the courtroom, did they have charges in another county in Illinois? We didn't always have the resources, the manpower, the time to look up the records of somebody else and say, well, gosh, you're here in front of me in Winnebago County under these charges, but it turns out, they've got charges against them in Lake County or Cook County or McHenry.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, we just weren't always afforded the possibility. So then you're looking at, well, gee, you've got somebody who committed a crime, and what have they done internationally? I highly doubt any local county prosecutor or police officer is going to have the resources and ability to be able to see that.
That's a very good point. Very good point. Now we're going to come back from these commercials on the Pat, Wally, and Al's Conservative Talk. Thank you for listening.
Come on, oh, baby, don't you wanna go back to that same old place, sweet home, Chicago.
Producing your own podcast can be frustrating. Test 1, 2. Which is why I'm glad to be introducing the brand new multi-format network. We offer digital media, podcasting, and radio broadcasting professional standard production and syndication. Whether you're looking to bolster and polish your business presentations for a Zoom interview, host your podcast, or push your nationally syndicated radio broadcast to a satellite, we can facilitate your every need. So when you're ready to look, sound, and be professional, don't just try to do it yourself. Contact the professionals at the new multi-format network, the Multi-Format Network. From professional syndication to personal vindication, we've got your back. Shoot us an email, mfngeneralmanager@gmail.com. mfngeneralmanager@gmail.com.
Hello, radio listeners. Welcome to WCGO 1590 AM or 95.9 FM. We have a new conservative show on the airwaves, and it's called Pat and Wally's Conservative Talk. I'm your co-host, Pat Gibbons. That being said, I'm going to pass the mic on to my friend and co-host, Wally. Hey, Wally, what do you hear? What do you say?
Hey, how's everyone doing today? We're just going to talk about the future about Chicago crime and the veterans in Chicago.
Tune in Mondays and Tuesdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Conservative Talk Radio with Pat and Wally. Should be a great show. We look forward to your engagement. We'll be talking about safety issues in the city of Chicago, how our veterans need help and assistance, better needed care, and also, too, very importantly, we are going to talk about the Chicago mayor that needs to be called out. I'm Pat.
I'm Wally.
And this is Pat and Wally's Conservative Talk. Tune in to Pat and Wally's Conservative Talk on Mondays and Tuesdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. starting June 5th.
It is estimated that 1.5 million people are arrested for DUI every year in the United States. In Illinois alone, over 30,000 motorists are arrested for DUI. Driving under the influence of alcohol, marijuana, or drugs is one of the most complex of traffic charges on the books. Most people do not understand the complexities of the standardized field sobriety tests, which are horizontal gaze nystagmus, the walk and turn, and the one-leg stand test. Due to improper testing procedures, many people are wrongfully charged with DUI. Whether you have been charged with a DUI or an attorney handling DUI cases, the book DUIs Decoded explains the proper procedures for standardized field sobriety testing, breathalyzer testing, and the penalties in Illinois for driving under the influence.
Real estate, be it residential or commercial, is often a person's most significant and priciest asset. Entering into a contract to buy or sell a real estate property is much more than just filling in the missing blanks on the printed contract. It's wise to hire a lawyer to prepare or review the offer to purchase real estate and take full advantage of his legal expertise. With Mark Sheblo, you will gain an attorney with over 26 years of legal practice and one who has helped thousands of clients to buy or sell their homes or investment property. We will safeguard your interests and might be able to even negotiate a better bargain than a client without proper legal counsel ever could. Oftentimes, a prospective buyer will submit an offer without first consulting an attorney, not realizing that once the offer is accepted by the seller, it becomes a binding contract, and the terms of that contract are not easy to be changed afterwards. Likewise, as a seller, you too will benefit from first consulting an attorney before signing. Feel free to call us for consultation at the law offices of Mark Sheblo at 773-775-5050. Our website is sheblolawoffice.com. Mark Sheblo can be reached 6 days a week at 773-775-5050, Monday through Saturday, located at 5945 North Elston Avenue in Chicago. That's attorney Mark Sheblo, 773-775-5050.
Baby, don't you wanna go?
All right, we're back on Pat, Wally, and Al's Conservative Talk. I'm your host, Pat Gibbons, with Al Rasho. Al, how you doing?
All right.
All right. Well, before we get on to our guests, we have a lot of guests today. We have a special event to announce by Miss Rocio Cleveland. When August 5th, 2023, time 2 to 4 p.m., we're Lincoln Room at the Wakanda Area Public Library. Children will be reading a book about how to be brave. This is a fun-filled event for children of all ages, and arts and crafts activity as well as light refreshments will be provided. Several surprises will be announced throughout this whole dynamic event from start to finish. You don't want to miss this. It's a great conservative movement. The kids will be talking about this for, I'm sure, years and years to come. Who knows? Who knows
I just saw her at the Kerry Lake event up in Wisconsin.
Oh, Miss Rocio Cleveland?
So
yeah,
I've met everybody.
I bet you did. So
Because you're the man on the street, Mark.
that's right. And you too, Mark. You're the man on the street as well. Mark Santana.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now onward to our next topic. Donald Trump. we have more allegations against Donald Trump, and who knows? Maybe he turned his mattress the wrong way. Who knows what's going on? Jeremy, what is going on with all these charges, huh?
So there are, I mean, again, if I'm going to address this as an attorney, yes, I'm going to stick with my viewpoint of justice is blind. The law should apply to all citizens, all the way down to dog catcher, all the way up to President of the United States. If he did do something violating the law, yeah, I'm obviously not going to support that. My troubling part of this whole situation is I find this all very convenient at the timing that they're bringing it. I'm finding it all very convenient that the Department of Justice is supposed to be a nonpartisan organization, but they are not acting nonpartisan at all. They're I will say it's my opinion on some type of a witch hunt against Donald Trump because they know he's the most likely candidate for the Republican Party. And they seem to just bypass all the things that Joe Biden is doing, including having documents at his own residence. There's actually been several presidents who have documents at their residences over the years. But it's just so convenient that at the time that right before the primaries, that they're going to go after Donald Trump for charges that I think they've just been adding one on top of the other just to mostly persuade the unfortunately ignorant population that, oh, the orange man is evil and you shouldn't go for Donald Trump. It's just their way of paving in another, hopefully not, I hope I'm wrong, but hopefully not another term for Joe Biden. But again, the puppet Joe Biden is the candidate that those who want to destroy America, that's their guy. And he's the easy puppet on the string or hand up his backside, whatever, that will flap his gums and say whatever they want him to say.
Right. Legally speaking, let's say he becomes the president of the United States, all right? And let's say, Jeremy, let's just say he was convicted of federal charges. Constitutionally speaking, does he have the legal right to overturn with a full presidential pardon, being the president of the United States? Can he do that?
So there's an interesting question, and how is that going to go? If he gets convicted and he becomes president, can he pardon himself? This is a question of, as I recall, and please fact check me on this one. I don't believe this has ever occurred. I don't think we've ever had a president who has had to pardon themselves. If he violated the law, like I said, nobody is above the law. No one should be above the law. Although if you look at, you get above a certain threshold of money or popularity, or your last name is Clinton, apparently you aren't subject to the laws, or Biden. So if he's convicted, then the attorney in me and the man who wants to seek justice and everybody's held to the law, he should face the penalty for the conviction. Can he pardon himself? A president can pardon anyone, but can he pardon himself? That's an interesting legal analysis that could come up. The question will come is who will be in charge of the House and the Senate if he becomes president.
My question as well is, why would you want a president who has to pardon themselves?
If justice is served,
and that president is convicted by a jury of their peers, et cetera, justice is blind. Why would you want a president who needs to be expunged or needs to be thrown out?
Yeah. Are you talking about Joe Biden or
either
President
one?
Trump?
Either one. Any president.
It's
any
all a
president.
witch hunt.
I'm just saying any president. It's not a witch hunt if you're convicted.
Yeah, but
if you're convicted by a jury of your peers, that's why justice is blind, is it not?
Yeah, but Resident Biden, I don't call him president because he's just a resident at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And he has documents from when he was vice president and senator in his garage where it's not secure.
Absolutely.
And it's by his Corvette.
My question is, if I rob a bank Am I allowed to use the excuse, well, I'm allowed to rob the bank, that person robbed the bank last week?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to use that excuse, Jeremy? I don't think I am. So regardless of if Biden or anybody else has these things, they have them. It is evidence in an independent silo. I can't just say that person also robs banks. You should let me get away with it.
Yeah, but as president, he can. When Trump was president, he can keep those papers for himself at his own. Like, you know, they all retire, write a few books, come out with the library, and so he's got every right to have his papers and stuff.
And how many subpoenas did everybody else flaunt and didn't adhere to get those documents back?
I mean, for Trump, they'll go after him if he rips the tag off his
But the law isn't about if he's got it. The National Archives have already said that same exact thing.
Yeah.
It's what subpoenas and what obstruction is what he's being charged with, not just the Espionage Act of having it. It's the obstruction.
I mean, they've been going after this guy ever since he came down that elevator.
Absolutely.
Before he was president.
I'm not going to deny that. But just because there's a police officer following behind my car the entire time I'm driving doesn't mean that when I don't use my blinker, I didn't break the law.
Yeah.
So he should have turned around and said, they're scrutinizing me for everything. I better mind every single one of my P's and Q's and show them that I don't break the law.
Well, you guys are wrong on this.
He didn't break no law.
The Trump document thing is all trumped up. He's got the documents. They're trying to say he had the launch codes. I mean, it's all fabricated. You talk about justice. I had some business law in college, and they said justice is what the court gives you. It's not necessarily right or wrong. So you can't just throw this word out, justice. They're going after Trump. Everyone knows this is inappropriate. At this point, it's the boy that cried wolf. And for me, if they charge him with anything, he's not guilty because there's no credibility on the side of the Justice Department, the FBI right now.
So charge him with anything? The guy is... let's say we've got tapes of him doing things.
Yeah, but you got visuals on Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Well, son of a gun.
Again, you're right back to I've got to put Joe Biden into the mix of this. Joe Biden. Yeah. Because someone else robs the bank. Doesn't mean that me robbing the bank is any less criminal.
The two rights don't make it wrong. You come back to Chicago crime. Why don't we focus on these guys all getting out of jail and then committing another crime? Example is the guy who killed Commander Paul Bauer had been either arrested or convicted 65 times. So we're worried about Donald Trump or Joe Biden having some documents in his Corvette. I mean, this is ridiculous that we're even spending time on this. I'm wondering if Fox News and CNN, this is what they need to promote. Why can't we focus on stopping crime in Chicago? And I know the Never Trumpers and the Rhinos, they just love talking about Trump and all this. I'm just not buying it. And I turn off the TV when I hear about something else, Trump being arrested, because no one likes it, and it's all a lot of
distraction.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mark Santana, what do you think?
I'm honestly in agreement with Mark on this one, but also, too, people should start tuning into shows like Newsmax and stuff because they promote we need to stop the crime in Chicago. They don't do what Fox News and CNN does.
Go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and, that makes sense.
So stop talking about Trump. Let's focus more on local issues as your answer to should Trump be indicted?
Correct. Because
fair enough.
Look at how Chicago is. How are we supposed to change Chicago if it's still the same thing that everyone wants to talk about, but there's no change?
Yeah, we need to have a strong conservative. I mean, he doesn't have to be a Republican because we know, the Republican issue, but we need a strong conservative to run for mayor, and that way you'll see the voting numbers. Instead of 33%, you'll probably see 60% of people because there's a lot of conservatives. They won't vote for anybody. Like Rudy Giuliani, he ran in New York. Nobody thought he would win, but he won. And he changed New York.
Who would be a good candidate in Chicago? Can you name a resident in Chicago that would
Mark?
Actually, I live in the suburbs.
I think the FOP president, John Catanzaro, would be a good candidate because he's strong and he's verbal. He doesn't care, and
he's a Trump supporter too.
Yeah, and you need somebody with a spine, strong, and that's gonna, that's not gonna get attacked. And
wait, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest, and he's going to be on for the next few minutes. Our 7th guest on the show, Wally, co-host of the Pat and Wally and Al's Conservative Talk.
Wally for mayor.
There you go. What do you hear? What do you say, Wally?
Yeah, Wally for mayor. Go Trump.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this? What do you think what's going on with Trump, Wally? What's your opinion about it?
It's not like a indictment him. There's about 90 million people voted for him.
What are you talking about? Just last week he said 200 million.
I wouldn't be surprised. That's probably how many are going to come out this time.
Just last week he said 200 million. What are you talking about? 90 million, Wally? Get out of here.
Come on.
A lot of people feel Trump won and Kerry Lake won, and that's just a fact that people feel that way. Yeah. Specifically in Chicago, the amount of voter fraud, the early voting, the mail-in voting. I don't know how anyone, Democrat or Republican, can say that we have honest and fair elections.
I mean, when I went to go vote in my district, and we had Eric Carlson that was running for Congress against Jesse Jackson's son, and their names weren't even on the ballot. And then a few hours later, Jesse Jackson's son won. So there's Crook County is always something up.
That's exactly it.
There's always something fishy. So I think we need strong poll watchers, election judges, people that won't back down.
Voter ID. How about photo ID like you do when you buy anything? Yeah. You buy liquor at the liquor store. You get on an airplane. Anything you need photo ID except for voting.
Yeah. So it's
Can I say something that is crucial? Let's go ahead. I honestly think that the big issue with Republicans in Chicago and Cook County is that we can put up a lot of Republican candidates against these Democrat politicians, but we need to make sure we win in Chicago because we could win in Will County, Lake County, Kane County, downstate, but we can't win in Chicago, and we lose to the Democrats by 1,000 votes.
Yeah, we don't bring strong candidates to win. If you bring strong candidates, we're going to win in Chicago. No.
What makes a strong candidate, Al?
A strong candidate?
What makes a strong candidate? Somebody
that won't back down.
Not just being tall.
Yeah, somebody that won't back down. And somebody that'll just say the truth, what's going on in Chicago, and not worried about political correctness.
Are there strong policies that a strong candidate would have?
Strong policies, and they won't.
I'm asking specific what those policies would be in a strong candidate.
You do crime, you go to jail. That's one. You don't.
Well, unless you're being targeted.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be targeted if you're not.
Unless you're being targeted.
Unless you're Donald Trump.
Yeah, unless it's a witch hunt, right? Yeah, you do crime, you go to jail unless it's a witch hunt.
Yeah, and you need strong candidates that aren't gonna back down from the media, from people's questions, because they try to trap you with questions and they make you backtrack on things, and then you just can't you just can't take the BS from what people ask you. You just got to be straightforward because they're not stupid.
Here's the issue. Even if you have a strong candidate, the voting system is totally corrupt 100%. And everybody knows that voting fraud is across the board. You have illegals out there that have fake IDs voting. It's happening. And that's an issue. You have dead people voting. Dead people's been voting for years. My grandfather was dead for 8 years, and he voted for Old Man Daley. Figure that one out, I swear to you. And Jeremy, there's a lot of voting fraud going out there. In order to have a strong candidate, that's great and everything, but we have to fix the system before we have any strong candidates.
Yeah, if you got a strong candidate, they'll vote for them. And they probably won't tell you that they're going to vote for them, but they're going to go to the polls and vote for them. I think, my opinion.
Oh, we need better aldermen, too. I mean, Ray Lopez is doing the circuit. He's promoting police. He's a Democrat, but I don't see any of the other 49 aldermen really doing anything other than, probably making their deals behind closed doors. We need to step up and stop crime.
Yeah.
You're not going to have honest elections.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Okay, you're not going to have honest elections in Chicago. This is my stance on it. One, strong Republican candidates, excellent. But the one thing I'll give Democrats credit for, they're, in my opinion, devious. They're maniacal, but hey, they stick together. The Republicans, it's alarming to me, remarkable to me, that you can have a Republican Party with, so many rhinos, so many weak-kneed, politically correct, afraid to take a stand on social issues, Republicans who are afraid to say that they're pro-life. I mean, good grief. If you can't say that, what the heck is wrong with you? You can't say you're opposed to the ridiculous problems we have with illegal immigration. You can't say that you're opposed to all these entitlement programs and welfare spending, things like that. You can't have Republicans who say, oh, I don't support Israel. I mean, things like that. If you can't have a Republican who can take a stand on that, then that person needs to step down. But the other problem is, why do you have so many corrupt politicians? Why do you have so many Democrats in Illinois and Chicago? Well, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. So you got all these illegal immigrants who are getting their handouts and their free cell phones and free medical care. They're going to vote for the person who's going to keep that coming.
That in the teachers union, and they're basically going to decide. And that's why Brandon Johnson got in. The teachers want more money, less work, and that's basically how Chicago elections work, in my opinion.
That's unions in general. They want to work less, make more money. But that's the point of a union, is to go up against somebody who doesn't want to pay them more and wants them to work more. So that's the whole point of a union. But to hit on your what you said there, Jeremy, is, do you think that the Democrats band together because they band together under the umbrella of their policy, and everybody turns around and says, yep, that's what we believe in, that's what we stand for, but because the Republicans, there are too many different shades of Republican that you can't all march under one policy banner?
Right, but why are there all these different shades of Republicans? I mean, don't get me wrong.
They're different shades of people.
Yeah, but if on policies like, hey, do you support illegal immigration? A Republican candidate should say, absolutely not. Sure, I support, making laws better to help people get into the country legally, but every Republican should have a firm stance on border walls, border protection, prevention of illegal immigration, even if it's on the stance of, well, the drugs that are coming in, the drug cartels that are using the open border, child pornography, child prostitution. That's an easy win. Yep. Republicans should say, I'm opposed to illegal immigration and I'm taking a hard light stance against it. All this green stuff, give me a break.
Well, the biggest question I have for everybody here, I know we're running out of time, but the biggest question I have here is, why should a career politician fix anything? We've been running on the exact same issues forever.
Term limits.
We've been running, but here's the issue: is we've been all debating on these exact same issues for at least the last decade or two, right?
Certainly for the last hour.
So what incentive do any of these people, blue, red, purple, yellow, whatever, what is their incentive anymore? We've already got enough career politicians that if I turn around and start fixing these problems, what am I going to run on next year? If I don't have a boogeyman, if I don't have a major crisis to pull everybody around, what am I going to run on? What's my favorite flavor of ice cream? There's no incentive with the money that's poured into this politics for anybody to actually fix anything. And
with Donald Trump, I'm going back to Trump. Sorry, I know you guys want to jump into Chicago. But with Trump, he's a businessman. Do you want to know why? I think he was one of the greatest presidents we've ever had in the United States, because he was a businessman, not a politician. I would take a businessman as a governor, as a president, any day over these career politicians. Career politicians are wastes of life, in my opinion. They know they can get all these kickbacks, all these insider trading, even though it's supposedly illegal. Any politician who makes themselves rich while in office is a crook.
What about $2 billion after office?
Who are we talking about?
What about $2 billion after office?
We're talking about Hunter Biden?
No.
Biden got rich
Mr.
before
Kushner.
office.
Mr. Kushner, come on. $2 billion after office.
How about Joe
that?
Biden making $180,000 a year, and he's got 4 mansions and millions of dollars?
Absolutely. Arrest them all.
Yeah, lock them up.
Arrest them
out.
all. See, you guys brought me on thinking that I would just be here bending Biden all day. No, you do a crime, go to jail. I don't care who's after you, who's coming after you in any kind of way, who's watching you. You do a crime, you go to jail. Sorry.
I agree. If you have fair prosecutors coming after you.
Absolutely. Well, if the evidence points regardless, it doesn't matter if the prosecutor's fair or not. The evidence is what the evidence is, isn't it?
Last I heard, you're innocent until proven
Absolutely.
guilty, right?
Yeah.
So Trump, as far as I'm concerned, is still an innocent man.
He sure is. He absolutely is an innocent man. The evidence that's being put together will eventually show up in court. And I think that's what they're trying to prevent, is the court date to actually happen. But that's just my opinion. But that's my question to you, at least, Jeremy, is what incentive does anybody have to fix these problems?
Right. If you've got, like, you nailed it. Career politicians, people like Dick Durbin, who's been in office almost as long as I've been alive.
Glitch McConnell.
Joe Biden.
Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi, absolutely.
What was it? Babylon Bee had an article yesterday I thought was brilliant.
Schumer, Feinstein.
Or you're up in a nursing home because of the people who are there. It's outrageous. It's ridiculous. There should be term limits. I wish we could get a convention of states to make an amendment to the Constitution proposing term limits. But again, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. And those who have all the power in the government and have been there too long, they're going to do everything they can to stop it. And I still believe that that's why they want to go against Donald Trump.
Mark Santana, do you believe there should be term limits?
I believe so, because we have politicians in Illinois and across this country, even federal, that have abused their power when they've been in office more than when they should be in. Like, for example, what another person said, Dick Durbin, he has abused his power to gain more money, and Joe Biden as well.
The one problem with term limits is we have another bum waiting in the wings to come up. So I'm not sure if term limits necessarily is the answer, because there's always another scoundrel ready to take over.
I think the citizens should vote for themselves. If I can vote for American Idol, I'm pretty sure I can vote for whatever the House of Representatives is putting together.
So keep it open, no term limits, huh?
Why do we keep sending Mr. Smith down in a donkey to Washington, D.C. when I can vote for myself as a representative? But that's just me. I don't want to change the rules. Constitution's the Constitution. Let's do it.
Right. Al? Term limits?
Term limits.
I think once you get up there in age, yeah, for sure. You know, Ed Burke, he was alderman for 50+ years. Go retire, enjoy the rest of your rich, miserable lives with your grandkids and kids.
Drinking pina coladas on a beach.
Yeah. To have some Bud Light.
Trump 2024.
Yeah.
I'm for that. Thank you, everybody, for being on the show. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Al. Thank you,
sir.
And take you for joining us on Pat, Wally, and Al's Conservative Talk.
There's a road I'd like to tell you about. Lives in my hometown. Lakeshore Drive, the road is called, and it'll take you up or down.
WCGO 1590 AM, W240EH 95.9 FM, Evanston, Chicago.